when you think of a big city, it has all different kinds of components. It has a central business district, and that's really the area post-pandemic that is suffering the most. So in most CBDs, it is dense office space. And what we're seeing is that lack of vibrancy with regards to folks, hybrid work. Maybe they're coming in 2 or 3 days a week. And so we're seeing a decline in retail. We're seeing a decline in, the delis and the dry cleaners, and a little bit of what some have called like a ghost effect, with maybe a rise in petty crime and sort of just a different feel to the street. And, part of being in a city is about sort of urban vibrancy. And, when you get into more residential neighborhoods of a lot of large cities post, as we've come out of the pandemic, they have sort of resumed a level of vibrancy that, maybe they had before. But, there are certainly going to be consequences to having central business districts perhaps have to adapt to a completely different future moving forward. And, there are all sorts of financial, real estate, and sort of municipal, how you run a city, impacts of that.
I think, and Erin makes a very good point, I think the degree of competitiveness, if you want to think about it that way, between cities is something that is going to become even more important. I think we've had these competitiveness rankings over the years, and you rank all the big metro areas in the world on how they attract workers and residents and so forth. But I do think this discussion has now become a little bit more nuanced in the way that you need to think about what actually makes an attractive city, and to what extent can a municipal or city government actually affect it. So, I think there's certain things that a city government provides in addition to, picking up the trash and keeping the lights on, essentially, if you will. But there's also, as Erin mentioned, there's the crime aspect, which has been covered at quite some depth in the media, certainly, and is supported by some of the data in the more recent past. But it's also the function of how can you make urban centers more affordable, and housing plays a critical role in this in terms of, the housing supply and the lack of housing production that we've seen over the years in places like San Francisco and New York. And I think this is becoming really, it was always sort of a mosaic of factors that plays a role for residents and businesses, starting from amenities to the physical layout, to taxes, to affordability, to housing, to education. And I think it's just now the realization is there that, there are options. And if my employer actually allows me to move somewhere else and only commute more infrequently, or maybe not commute at all, then I think cities will have to look at this and say, well, we really need to do something that we need to alter policy in a way that can be making a city more attractive.